Nedra Talley Ross, the final surviving original member of the legendary 1960s girl group, the Ronettes, has died at the age of 80. Her passing marks the end of an era for one of the most influential vocal groups in pop music history. Fans around the world remember her unmistakable harmonies on timeless classics like Be My Baby, Baby, I Love You, and The Best Part Of, Breaking Up. While lead singers often received most of the spotlight, Talley Ross helped create the emotional sound that made the Ronettes unforgettable. Their music shaped the future of pop, soul, and rock for generations to come. After the group's massive success in the 1960s, Nedra Talley Ross later moved toward Christian music and continued performing throughout the 1970s. Her voice remained instantly recognizable, and longtime fans admired how gracefully she carried herself through decades of fame and change. Music historians frequently credited the Ronettes as pioneers who inspired artists ranging from the Beach Boys to Amy Winehouse. With her death, another living connection to the golden age of girl groups has now disappeared. Former NFL star Monte Coleman has died at the age of 68. Coleman spent an incredible 16 seasons with the Washington Redskins, building a reputation as one of the toughest and most dependable linebackers of his era. During his career, he helped lead Washington to 3 Super Bowl championships and became a respected leader both on and off the field. Known for his discipline, intelligence, and relentless work ethic, Coleman earned a permanent place in the team's Ring of Fame. Teammates described him as the kind of player every championship team needs: consistent, fearless, and completely committed to winning. Even after retiring from professional football, he stayed deeply connected to the sport. Coleman later became head coach at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, where he guided the program to a Southwestern Athletic Conference championship in 2012. Former players say he treated them like family and constantly pushed them to succeed in life beyond football. His death has triggered an outpouring of tributes from NFL legends, college athletes, and fans who admired the calm strength he brought everywhere he went. Former Major League Baseball catcher Ellie Rodriguez has died at the age of 79. Rodriguez built a respected baseball career across multiple teams and earned All-Star recognition twice during his years in the major leagues. Fans of the Kansas City Royals especially remember him as the franchise's very first All-Star selection, a milestone that secured his place in team history forever. Rodriguez was also behind the plate for one of baseball's most iconic moments, catching Nolan Ryan's 4th no-hitter. For baseball purists, that achievement alone guarantees immortality. Catchers often work in silence, receiving little credit despite controlling the entire pace of the game. But Rodriguez earned enormous respect from pitchers and coaches who understood his intelligence and leadership. Friends and former teammates described him as humble, hardworking, and deeply passionate about baseball. Younger Latin American players also viewed him as an inspiration because he succeeded. During a period when opportunities for international players were far more limited than they are, former Idaho Governor and United States Senator Dirk Kempthorne has died after battling colon cancer. He was 74 years old. Kempthorne spent decades in American politics and became one of the most recognizable Republican leaders in Idaho history. Before serving in the Senate, Kempthorne worked as mayor of Boise, where supporters praised his focus on economic growth and environmental preservation. In 1992, he won election to the United States Senate and later became governor of Idaho in 1999. His political career eventually brought him to Washington, D.C., where he served as Secretary of the Interior under President George W. Bush. Colleagues from both political parties remembered Kempthorne as calm, professional, and deeply committed to public service. Even critics acknowledged his ability to maintain respectful relationships in an increasingly divided political climate. Following news of his death, flags across Idaho were lowered to half staff in his honor. Paranormal author and media personality David Wilcock has died by suicide at the age of 53. Wilcock became widely known through appearances on the History Channel series Ancient Aliens, where he discussed extraterrestrial theories, hidden civilizations, and alternative cosmology. Over the years, Wilcock built a massive online following through books, documentaries, interviews, and his YouTube platform, Divine Cosmos. Supporters viewed him as a fearless thinker willing to challenge mainstream narratives, while critics often questioned his theories and claims. Regardless of public opinion, there is no denying the influence he had within paranormal media communities. His sudden death shocked followers around the world, many of whom spent years listening to his lectures and discussions about spirituality, consciousness, and hidden history. Conversations surrounding mental health have intensified online following the announcement, with many fans expressing sadness over how isolated public figures can sometimes become despite appearing constantly connected to audiences. Acclaimed conductor and composer Michael Tilson Thomas has died from brain cancer at the age of 81. Widely regarded as one of the greatest conductors of modern classical music, Thomas spent decades shaping the sound of orchestras around the world. He served as principal conductor of the London Symphony Orchestra and later transformed the San Francisco Symphony into one of the most respected orchestras in the United States. Thomas also became famous for introducing younger audiences to classical music through television specials and educational programs. Beyond conducting, he worked with artists from completely different musical worlds, including Elvis, Costello, and Metallica. His willingness to experiment helped break down barriers between classical music and contemporary culture. As a composer, Thomas created emotionally powerful works, including From the Diary of Anne Frank and Poems of Emily Dickinson. Fellow musicians praised not only his extraordinary talent, but also his generosity toward young artists. His death is being mourned across the international music community. Comic book writer Gerry Conway has died at the age of 73. For comic fans, Conway's imagination helped define entire generations of superheroes and anti-heroes. He co-created The Punisher in 1974, introducing readers to one of Marvel's darkest and most controversial characters. Conway also played a major role in the creation of Ms. Marvel, who later evolved into Captain Marvel, one of Marvel Studios' biggest modern heroes. But his influence extended far beyond Marvel Comics. At DC Comics, he helped create iconic characters including Power Girl, Killer Croc, Firestorm, and Jason Todd. Comic historians often describe Conway as one of the most influential writers of the Bronze Age of comics. His storytelling blended action with emotional realism, allowing readers to connect with characters on a deeper level. Fans are revisiting classic storylines following news of his death, and many creators working in comics today openly credit Conway as a direct inspiration for their careers. Televangelist and missionary Marilyn Hickey has died at the age of 94 after battling Alzheimer's disease. Hickey spent decades preaching Christianity through television, books, and international missionary work. Her program, Today with Marilyn and Sarah, first aired in 1973 and eventually reached millions of viewers around the world. She became known for energetic sermons, strong faith, and extensive travel across nearly 130 countries. Supporters viewed Hickey as a spiritual guide who helped countless people through difficult moments in life. Critics sometimes challenged aspects of televangelism culture, but even many opponents acknowledged her remarkable dedication and global influence. Religious leaders from multiple denominations released statements honoring her decades of ministry and humanitarian outreach. Actress Mariclare Costello has died at the age of 90. Television audiences best remember her as Rosemary Hunter Fordwick on the beloved family drama The Waltons. Her warm screen presence made her a familiar face for millions of viewers during the 1970s. Costello also enjoyed a successful Broadway career and appeared on numerous classic television shows including Murder, She Wrote, The Incredible Hulk, and Little House on the Prairie. Friends described her as elegant, kind, and deeply devoted to acting. Fans online shared scenes from her most memorable performances shortly after news of her death broke, celebrating the timeless comfort her work brought to audiences over the years. Former United States Senator Donald Riegle has died at the age of 88 following cardiac arrest. Riegle represented Michigan in Congress for nearly 3 decades and served under 7 different American presidents. Beginning his political career in the House of Representatives before later moving to the Senate, Riegle became known for his involvement in financial reform and environmental policy. He also co-authored the political book Oh Congress, offering readers an insider perspective on the realities of Washington politics. Colleagues remembered him as intelligent, outspoken, and passionate about public accountability. His death closes another chapter in the history of late 20th century American politics. Author and UFO investigator Nick Pope has died from esophageal cancer at the age of 60. Pope became famous after working with Britain's Ministry of Defence, where he investigated reports involving unidentified flying objects. Because of his government background, many people viewed him as one of the most credible voices in the UFO community. His books, interviews, and television appearances attracted enormous attention, especially during the recent worldwide resurgence of interest in unexplained aerial phenomena. Some compared Pope to Fox Mulder from The X-Files, while others admired the careful and analytical way he discussed controversial subjects. Fans of paranormal investigations say his work helped push UFO discussions into mainstream conversation long before the topic became widely accepted. Musician and songwriter Tony Wilson has died at the age of 89. Wilson was best known as co-founder of the British soul band Hot Chocolate and as one of the writers behind the massive hit You Sexy Thing. The group became internationally famous for songs including Emma, Brother Louie, and Love Is Life. Their blend of soul, funk, and pop helped define the sound of the 1970s. Wilson's songwriting talent earned admiration throughout the music industry, and many performers later covered Hot Chocolate classics across multiple generations. Fans continue to celebrate the joyful energy his music brought into people's lives. Holocaust survivor, psychologist, and best-selling author Dr. Edith Eger has died at the age of 98. Her life story remains one of the most powerful stories of survival and resilience ever told. As a teenager in Hungary during World War II, Eger was imprisoned at Auschwitz after the Nazi occupation devastated her family. She survived unimaginable horrors before eventually moving to the United States and rebuilding her life. Instead of allowing trauma to define her future, Eger became a psychologist specializing in post-traumatic stress disorder. She spent decades helping trauma survivors, including military veterans struggling with PTSD. Her best-selling memoir, The Choice, Embrace the Possible, inspired millions around the world with its message of healing, forgiveness, and emotional freedom. Readers frequently described her wisdom as life-changing. Following her death, tributes poured in from educators, therapists, Holocaust remembrance organizations, and ordinary readers whose lives she transformed through her words. Former NFL defensive end Josh Mauro has died at the age of 35. No official cause of death has yet been announced. Mauro spent 8 seasons in the NFL, primarily with the Arizona Cardinals, where he built a reputation as a tough and dependable defensive lineman. He also played for the New York Giants, Oakland Raiders, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Former teammates described Mauro as hard-working, loyal, and highly respected inside locker rooms. Fans were shocked by the news due to his relatively young age, and many current NFL players expressed condolences online. His sudden death serves as another reminder of how fragile life can be, even for elite professional athletes who appear physically unstoppable. Country music outlaw Allan Coe has died at the age of 86, one of the most controversial and influential figures in country music history. Coe built a career defined by rebellion, honesty, and unforgettable songwriting. He wrote the classic working-class anthem Take This Job and Shove It, made famous by Johnny Paycheck, along with Tanya Tucker's hit, Would You Lay With Me? But Coe's own recordings also became legendary among country fans. Songs like The Ride, You Never Even Called Me By My Name, and Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile cemented his status as a defining voice of outlaw country. Coe's career was often surrounded by controversy because of his rough image and provocative lyrics, but even critics acknowledged his extraordinary songwriting ability. Many younger country artists openly cited him as an inspiration. His death marks the loss of one of country music's last true outlaws, an artist who refused to fit comfortably inside industry expectations. This week's losses span music, sports, politics, literature, religion, television, and paranormal culture. Together, these individuals shaped entertainment, public life, and cultural conversations for decades. Some inspired audiences through music, others influenced governments, sports teams, books, or television screens. A few changed the way people thought about trauma, spirituality, or even the mysteries of the universe. While their careers were vastly different, they all leave behind stories that continue far beyond their deaths. For fans around the world, moments like these become reminders of how quickly eras disappear. Songs become memories, games become history, television scenes become nostalgia, voices that once felt permanent suddenly fall silent. But legacies survive in different ways. Through music still played on radios, through books still sitting on shelves, through championship highlights watched by future generations, through films and television episodes rediscovered years later, through lessons passed from mentors to students, and through memories carried by the people who loved them. These were the celebrities, public figures, and cultural icons whose deaths made headlines this week. May they all rest in peace.